Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today we are diving deep into one of the most iconic coins in American numismatics, the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This humble 1-cent piece might just be sitting in your change jar right now, but believe it or not, it could be worth much more than just a penny. Whether you're a new collector, a history buff, or someone who's just curious about what makes old coins valuable, you'll want to stick around. We're going to cover the history, minting, errors, and current market value of the 1941 wheat penny. So let's get started. Let's begin with some history. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head cent and became the first regularly circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln cent was revolutionary for its time. On the obverse, it features a right-facing portrait of Abraham Lincoln. On the reverse, you'll see two wheat ears on either side, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This is why these coins are affectionately known as wheat pennies. Now let's talk specifically about the 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny. The D mint mark stands for Denver, which was one of the three mints producing pennies that year along with Philadelphia and San Francisco. In 1941, the world was on the brink of major global change. World War II was escalating, and although the United States hadn't yet entered the war until December, the country was already ramping up production and shifting resources in anticipation. Despite all of this, the Denver Mint managed to produce an incredible 128,700,000 Lincoln Wheat pennies that year. That's a massive number, which might make you wonder, how can any of them be valuable? Well, here's the thing about coin collecting. It's not always about how many were made. It's about the condition of the coin, whether it has any errors or unique features, and the demand among collectors. The vast majority of 1941 pennies you'll find in circulation today are what we call circulated coins. They've been handled, exchanged, dropped, and pocketed for decades. These usually aren't worth more than a few cents to a dollar depending on the wear. But there's a huge difference between a worn-out coin and one that's in mint state. Let's talk about mint state condition. A coin is said to be in mint state when it has never been used in circulation. These coins can be graded on the Sheldon scale from MS-60 to MS-70. An MS-60 coin will still be uncirculated but might have many minor marks or dull luster, while an MS-70 is a perfect coin with absolutely no flaws, although those are almost never seen in coins this old. A 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny in MS-60 condition might fetch around $5 to $10. If it's MS-63, that value could jump to $15 to $20. Higher grade coins in MS-65 condition can easily sell for $40 to $60. And if you're lucky enough to have an MS-67 example, you could be looking at a value of $150 or more. Some rare auction results have even seen them sell for over $1,000 if the luster and strike are exceptional. Now let's move on to what every collector loves to hear about: error coins. Error coins are mistakes made during the minting process, and they're highly sought after by collectors because they are both rare and fascinating. Some known errors on the 1941 wheat penny include double dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, and die cracks. One of the most common varieties is the repunched mint mark, or RPM. This happens when the mint mark was punched more than once onto the die but not in the exact same location, creating a doubled appearance. Some of these RPM varieties from 1941 are extremely valuable. Depending on the clarity of the error and the coin's overall condition, an RPM can be worth anywhere from $20 to over $300. It's important to look closely with a magnifying glass or microscope. If you think you might have one, getting it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC is a great idea. There are also some examples of double die obverse, where the letters and numbers on the front of the coin show slight doubling. These are rare, but when they show up, collectors are willing to pay hundreds of dollars for well-preserved examples. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin blank wasn't properly aligned during striking. The more off-center the strike and the more of the date still visible, the higher the value. These errors can go for anywhere from $50 to over $500. Now let's talk about how to spot a valuable 1941 D penny. First, you want to check for the mint mark. If there is no D, then it was minted in Philadelphia. A coin with an S mint mark was made in San Francisco. Only coins with a D under the date were made in Denver. Next, examine the condition. Is it shiny? Are Lincoln's hair details still sharp? Can you clearly see the wheat stalk lines on the back? These are all signs of a higher grade coin. Then, look for possible errors, repunched mint marks, doubled letters, or off-center designs. You might be wondering how to sell your 1941 D penny if you think it's valuable. The first step is to have it professionally graded. PCGS and NGC are the top two grading companies in the US, and a slabbed, graded coin will sell for much more than an ungraded one. You can then list it on platforms like eBay, Heritage Auctions, or take it to a reputable coin dealer. Let's talk about current market value. As of 2025, the average price for a circulated 1941 D wheat penny ranges from 5 cents to 50 cents. A nice mint state example could sell for $20 to $60. High-end gem examples in MS-67 can sell for $150 or more. Add in a rare error like a repunched mint mark or a double die, and the price could climb to $300, $500, even over $1,000 depending on the market and rarity. So the next time you're sifting through your coin jar, drawer, or inherited collection, take a second look at those wheat pennies. Especially any from 1941 with a D under the date. You never know, you might be holding onto a little piece of history that's worth a lot more than face value. We are diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1940 Lincoln wheat penny. This little copper coin could be worth a lot more than 1 cent, and you'll want to know why. Now let's get into it. First up, a bit of history. The Lincoln wheat cent, also known as the Lincoln wheat penny, was introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It was the first United States coin to feature a real historical figure and not just a symbol of liberty, designed by Victor David Brenner. The front side of the coin shows a portrait of Lincoln facing right with the words "I and God We Trust" above his head, liberty to his left, and the year of mintage to the right. On the reverse side you'll find two wheat stalks encircling the words 1 cent and United States of America, along with the Latin motto E pluribus unum, which means out of many one. That classic wheat design remained in use until 1958, after which it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. Now let's talk specifically about the 1940 issue. Over 586 million of these coins were minted that year, making it a fairly common date compared to others. However, the real intrigue begins when we break it down by mint location and condition. There were 3 different mints that struck Lincoln wheat pennies in 1940. The Philadelphia Mint, which struck the coins with no mint mark, produced about 586 million coins. The Denver Mint with the D mint mark produced about 81 million coins, and the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, made around 112 million coins. So yes, there are a lot of these pennies out there, but that doesn't mean yours isn't worth anything. The value depends heavily on its condition, any unique errors, and the demand from collectors. Let's start with circulated coins. If your 1940 penny is worn from years of use, it is likely worth around 2 to 5 cents depending on the market and the buyer. That might not sound like much, but it is still 5 times its face value. However, once we get into higher grades, the story changes. If you have a 1940 Lincoln wheat penny that is in uncirculated or mint state condition, it could be worth significantly more. A mint state coin graded MS-65 or higher can sell for $10 to $20 or more on today's market. Some pristine examples in top grades have sold for over $100 at auction, especially if they have eye appeal or red color tones, which are highly prized by collectors. Now let's talk about errors and varieties. This is where things get really interesting. Some 1940 Lincoln wheat pennies have been found with striking errors such as off-center strikes, die cracks, and double dies. These rare errors can fetch anywhere from $50 to several $100s depending on the severity and uniqueness of the mistake. One example is a 1940 double die obverse where the date and letters appear slightly doubled. If you happen to find one of those, hold on to it, because you could be looking at a coin worth hundreds of dollars if authenticated. and graded professionally. And speaking of grading, that's a critical part of determining the value of your coin. Professional coin grading services like PCGS or NGC will assign a grade to your coin from 1 to 70 and provide authentication, which boosts collector confidence and often increases sale prices. Let's take a look at some real-world auction results. In recent years, high-grade 1940 Lincoln wheat pennies have sold for anywhere between $50 and $1,000 depending on grade and I appeal. For example, a perfectly preserved 1940D penny graded MS67 red by PCGS sold for nearly $1,500. That's right, one penny sold for over $1,000 simply because of its condition and color. So what should you do if you find a 1940 wheat penny in your possession? First, examine it closely. Check the mint mark. Look at its color. Is it a dull brown or a vibrant red? Check for any doubling on the date or letters. Use a magnifying glass if needed. Next, compare it to online grading guides, or better yet, take it to a professional dealer or submit it to a grading service. Remember, even if your coin isn't a super rare variety, it still has value as a piece of American history. These coins were made during the World War II era and have passed through countless hands, carrying the legacy of a nation during a critical time. Now let's recap. The 1940 Lincoln wheat penny was produced in huge numbers but can still be valuable in the right condition. Mint marks from Denver and San Francisco can slightly affect value, while high-grade uncirculated coins, especially those with errors or beautiful red luster, can be worth big money. So check your old jars, your piggy banks, and your childhood collections. That ordinary-looking penny might just surprise you. We dive deep into one of the most iconic and fascinating coins in American numismatic history, the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. This humble 1-cent coin featuring the image of Abraham Lincoln may seem like ordinary pocket change to most people. But to those who know what to look for, this coin can be a small copper treasure hiding in plain sight. Now, before we get into the current market value and what makes this coin potentially worth a lot of money, let's first rewind the clock and explore the rich historical background behind this legendary penny. The Lincoln wheat penny was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first time a real person, let alone a former president, was featured on a United States coin in general circulation. The obverse of the coin proudly shows the profile of Lincoln, facing right, with the inscriptions Liberty and the year of minting. On the reverse side you will see the two iconic wheat stalks arching along the left and right sides, with the words 1 cent and United States of America prominently in the center. The year 1941 is especially significant. America was on the brink of entering World War II. The economy was shifting, production was increasing, and copper was still being used for coinage. Steel cents would not arrive until 1943. So 1941 stands as one of the last years where pennies were minted in full copper alloy, roughly 95% copper with the rest being tin and zinc. In 1941, the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln wheat pennies at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint coins have no mint mark and are the most common, with over 887 million pieces struck. Denver used a small d mint mark and minted around 128 million coins. San Francisco used an S mint mark and produced nearly 93 million coins. This makes the San Francisco version a bit more scarce, but none of these three are considered rare based solely on mintage numbers. However, what makes the 1941 wheat penny potentially worth thousands of dollars are the rare errors and specific high-grade conditions that collectors obsess over. Let's start with the most valuable versions. In uncirculated or mint state condition, especially with red luster or what numismatists call full red examples, these coins can fetch significantly higher prices. A Philadelphia 1941 penny graded MS67 red by a major grading company like PCGS or NGC can sell for over $500. A Denver 1941D penny in MS67 red condition has been auctioned for over $1,000. And the 1941 S penny, especially in high grades, can exceed $2,000 under the right conditions. But that's not all. There are rare error coins from 1941 that are worth much more. Double die errors are some of the most sought after by collectors. These occur when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned slightly during the minting process, creating a doubled image. In the 1941 penny, double die errors can occur in the date, Liberty lettering, or even in the motto "In God We Trust." These errors are often visible to the naked eye or with a simple magnifying glass. A 1941 Lincoln penny with a strong double die obverse can easily sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on its condition. Another notable error is the off-center strike, where the design of the coin is not properly centered. These can range in value depending on how far off the strike is, but the more dramatic the error, the higher the price. Some collectors have paid over $500 for a 1941 penny struck 50% off-center. Then there are repunched mint marks, commonly abbreviated as RPM. This is where the mint mark was punched into the die more than once, often slightly misaligned. 1941D RPM and 1941 South RPM coins are well known among collectors and can also carry a premium. Now you might be wondering, how can you tell if you have one of these valuable pennies? Start by checking the date. Make sure the coin says 1941. Next, look below the date. If there is a small D or S, you know your coin came from Denver or San Francisco respectively. No mint mark means Philadelphia. Examine the coin for any doubling in the letters or numbers, especially in Liberty, the date, and in God We Trust. Also look for any signs of unusual errors like off-center strikes, extra thickness in the lettering, or repunched mint marks. Condition is everything in coin collecting. A heavily circulated 1941 penny with scratches and wear might only be worth a few cents to $1. But a pristine example with full red luster can be worth hundreds or even more if it includes a rare error. So what is the current market value in 2025? For regular circulated 1941 pennies with no mint mark, the average value ranges from 5 cents to 50 cents. Denver and San Francisco versions in circulated condition can be worth around 25 cents to $1. In uncirculated mint state, values climb steeply. MS-63 red examples average around $10 to $20. MS-65 red examples can fetch $50 to $100. MS-67 and above can bring in serious money, often over $500 and occasionally more depending on market demand and certification. Error coins, such as double dies, RPMs, and off-center strikes, can range from $50 to over $2,000 depending on rarity and condition. The highest prices go to coins that are both rare errors and in near-perfect condition. So to summarize, the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny is a common coin with uncommon potential. While most are only worth a few cents, the right coin in the right condition or with the right error can be worth hundreds or even thousands. Whether you are a beginner or seasoned numismatist, it is always worth checking your pocket change and coin jars for this historical gem. We are diving into the world of vintage American coins and uncovering the fascinating story behind the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny. This 1-cent coin may seem ordinary at first glance, but it actually holds a wealth of historical significance and in some rare cases could be worth a lot of money in today's collector market. Stick around to the end of the video because we will break down not just the history but also the specific details you need to look for to determine if your 1946 penny is worth just a cent or potentially hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's get started. To understand the value of the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny, we need to begin with a bit of context. The Lincoln cent was first minted in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, and its design marked a major shift in American coinage. The obverse or front side of the coin features a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln sculpted by Victor David Brenner. His initials VDB can be found on some versions of the coin, though not on all, depending on the year and minting variation. On the reverse or back of the coin you will see the famous wheat ears, which give this coin its nickname, the wheat penny. Fast forward to the year 1946. America had just emerged from the Second World War. The war had a major impact on coin production and even the metals used in minting. For example, in 1943 the government minted steel pennies because copper was needed for the war effort, but by 1946 copper was back in use and the Lincoln wheat penny returned to its traditional metal composition. So what exactly is the 1946 wheat penny made of? It consists of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This gives it that distinctive reddish-brown color that older pennies are known for. Over time many of these coins oxidized and took on a darker tone, which is common for circulated coins of that age. Now let's talk about the mint marks in 1946 Lincoln cents were Produced at 3 different U.S. mints: the Philadelphia Mint, which produced the majority of the coins and has no mint mark, the Denver Mint, which uses the letter D, and the San Francisco Mint, which uses the letter S. These small letters can be found just below the date on the obverse side of the coin, and they play a big role in determining value in terms of numbers. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 991 million pennies in 1946, the Denver Mint struck about 315 million, and the San Francisco Mint produced just over 198 million. So these coins are not exactly rare in terms of quantity, but rarity is not the only factor that determines a coin's value. Condition: errors and demand are equally important. Now let's talk about condition. The value of a 1946 wheat penny increases significantly if it is in uncirculated condition. This means the coin has no wear and still retains its original mint luster. A coin graded mint state 65 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can fetch significantly more than face value. For example, a 1946 penny in perfect condition can sell for anywhere from $10 to over $100 depending on demand and appeal. But wait, it gets more interesting. If your 1946 penny has an error that occurred during the minting process, you could be looking at a real treasure. Some error coins are extremely valuable. A double die error, for example, where the image on the coin appears double due to a misaligned strike, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the severity and visibility of the doubling. There are also off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and repunched mint marks, all of which are types of errors that collectors actively search for. A 1946 penny with a dramatic off-center strike and in high grade could easily be valued in the hundreds. Another example is a 1946 S penny with a repunched mint mark. A clear and visible RPM can command big money among die variety enthusiasts. Now what about copper quality? Some 1946 pennies appear with a slightly different hue, and collectors speculate that some planchets may have contained different alloy mixtures left over from the war years. While not officially confirmed by the U.S. Mint, coins with unusual toning or color can still draw collector interest. Let's move on to current market values. At the time of this video, an average circulated 1946 wheat penny is typically worth between 5 to 15 cents. That's not much more than face value, but still more than a penny. However, if your coin is in excellent condition or features a unique error, the price can skyrocket. Uncirculated examples, especially from the San Francisco or Denver mints, regularly sell between $2 to $5 each. Higher grade specimens certified by PCGS or NGC as MS66 or MS67 can sell for $100 to $300 depending on appeal, and again, if there is a rare error like a double die or off-center strike, the value could be $500, $1,000 or more. Collectors also pay premiums for coins with original red luster. These are coins that were never circulated and still look like they were freshly minted. A red MS67 1946 D penny sold at auction for over $300 in recent years. That's not bad for a coin that started as 1 cent. So how can you find out if your 1946 penny is valuable? First, check the date and mint mark. Next, examine the condition. Look for scratches, wear, or signs of damage. Then, if you suspect you have an error, take a closer look under a magnifying glass or have the coin professionally graded and authenticated. There are also online communities, coin shows, and local dealers who can help you assess your coin's value. But remember, not every coin is a jackpot. Sometimes the real value comes from learning the story behind the coin and appreciating it as a piece of American history. To wrap it all up, the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny is a great example of how history, metalwork, and minting errors come together to create a collectible item that is more than just pocket change. Whether you are just getting into coin collecting or have a jar full of old pennies lying around, the 1946 wheat penny is definitely one to keep an eye on. If you're a coin collector or just stumbled upon a jar of old pennies in your attic, you might want to stick around for this video. Today we're diving deep into the world of numismatics as we uncover the secrets and surprises hidden in the 1952 D Lincoln wheat penny. This small copper coin could be worth far more than its face value, and we're going to tell you exactly why. Let's begin with a bit of historical background. The 1952 D Lincoln wheat penny was minted in Denver and is part of the classic Lincoln wheat cent series that was minted from 1909 to 1958. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin features the profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse or front side, which was the first time a real person appeared on a U.S. coin. The wheat ears on the reverse represent prosperity and were part of the original design for nearly 50 years. These coins were made primarily of copper with a small mix of zinc and tin and weighed 3.11 grams each. Over 746 million of these 1952 D pennies were minted in Denver, which might make it seem like they are common, but here is where things get interesting. Key features: the 1952 D penny is easily recognized by the small D mint mark under the year on the front side of the coin, which stands for the Denver Mint. Even though it was mass-produced, there are still variations and conditions that can make this coin extremely valuable to collectors today. Let's talk about condition first. Coins are graded on a scale called the Sheldon scale, which ranges from 1 to 70. A penny graded MS or mint state 65 or higher is considered to be in superb condition and can fetch much more than a coin that has been circulated and worn down. Rare errors and varieties: collectors go crazy over error coins, and the 1952 D Lincoln cent has a few known varieties. Some coins were struck off-center, some have double dies where the lettering or numbers appear to have been stamped twice, creating a shadow effect. There are also coins with repunched mint marks or RPM errors where the D appears to have been struck more than once, slightly off from the first strike. If you find one of these rare errors, especially in uncirculated or mint state condition, you could be holding a penny worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Current market value. So how much is your 1952 D penny worth today? For a common 1952 D penny in average circulated condition, the value is usually around 3 to 10 cents. Yes, that's just a little above face value, but that's just the beginning. If the coin is in extremely fine condition, it might bring in 50 cents to $1. But now we're getting to the exciting part. Uncirculated 1952 D pennies that are graded MS-63 can sell for $5 to $10. An MS-65 could be valued at $25 or more. The real gems are those in MS-66 or higher. These coins are considered premium collectibles and can easily sell for $75 to $150 at auction, and the rarest of them all, with high grades and visible errors or perfect strike quality, can skyrocket in price. In fact, one 1952 D Lincoln cent in MS-67 red condition sold for over $1,200 at a public auction. What makes it valuable? Several factors make this coin valuable. One is its condition. Another is rarity. Even though millions were minted, only a small percentage remain in top-grade condition. Third is the presence of errors, which always catch the eye of collectors, and lastly is demand. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series is extremely popular among collectors, so even average specimens can retain good value over time. Tips for identifying value: if you have a 1952 D penny, the first step is to examine its condition. Look for clear details, minimal wear, and original color. Red pennies that still have that original copper shine tend to be more valuable than brown or darkened coins. Next, check for any minting errors. Use a magnifying glass and compare with online images of known varieties. If you suspect you have something rare, you may want to get it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC. This can significantly increase its market value, especially if it scores high. Conclusion: so the next time you come across a handful of old coins or you are sifting through a coin jar, do not overlook those humble wheat pennies. Especially the 1952 D Lincoln cent. It might be a common year, but with the right condition or error, you could be looking at a small fortune in the palm of your hand. Whether you're an experienced collector or just getting started, always remember to handle coins with care, store them properly, and do your research before selling or trading. We're diving deep into a coin that many of you may have sitting quietly in your collection or perhaps forgotten in an old coin jar, the 1955 D Lincoln Wheat Penny. This little 1-cent coin could be worth more than just a cent. In fact, in some cases it's worth hundreds of dollars, but not all 1955 pennies are created equal. So let's go back in time and learn the history of this coin, what makes it valuable, how to identify rare varieties, and what you should be looking for if you're hoping to cash in on this copper classic. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head penny and became the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical person, President Lincoln himself. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse side of the coin features a right-facing portrait of Lincoln along with the words "I and God We Trust" above, liberty to the left, and the mint year to the right. The reverse side features two stalks of wheat flanking the words 1 cent United States of America with E pluribus unum above. These wheat ears gave the coin its nickname, the Wheat Penny. Now fast forward to 1955. 3 mints were producing pennies that year. Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The 1955 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint and carries the small d mint mark just below the date. In total, over 563 million of these coins were minted in Denver in 1955. So what makes them special? Let's talk about that. The first thing collectors want to know is condition. In average circulated condition, a 1955 D wheat penny might only fetch a few cents above face value, but if it's in uncirculated or mint state condition, that's where the value jumps. Say 1955 D penny graded MS65 read by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can be worth around $50 to $150 or even more depending on market demand. Some high-grade examples have sold for over $500 at auction. Now let's talk about color. Lincoln cents come in three basic color designations: brown, red, brown, and red. The red designation is the most valuable because it means the coin has retained most of its original copper luster. A 1955 D in MS66 red can bring hundreds of dollars simply due to its color and preservation, so be sure to examine your coin under good lighting. But wait, there's more. Even though we're talking about the Denver Mint today, we can't ignore the fact that 1955 is the same year as one of the most famous Lincoln cent errors in history, the 1955 double die penny. That error was struck at the Philadelphia Mint and features dramatically doubled letters, especially in the words Liberty and In God We Trust. It's not found on Denver Mint coins, so don't get confused, but it has added to the general interest in 1955 pennies overall. As for the 1955 D coins, while they don't have the famous double die from Philly, they do sometimes come with smaller die cracks, die chips, and repunched mint marks known as RPMs. These minor errors can add a few dollars to a coin's value for collectors who enjoy these subtle variations. Now let's get into how you can find out what your 1955 D penny is worth today. First, check its condition. Does it have sharp details, no major scratches, and still some original shine? If yes, then it might be in uncirculated condition and worth grading. Next, look for color. If it's a vibrant red rather than dull brown, it will be worth more. If you're not sure, bring it to a local coin dealer or submit it to a grading service. As of this year, 2025, the coin market remains strong, especially for vintage U.S. coins in high grades. Collectors are always on the lookout for well-preserved wheat pennies because they represent an iconic era in American coinage. And remember, the value of your coin depends not just on the date and mint mark but also on its grade. I appeal and demand at the time. So what's the highest price ever paid for a 1955 D wheat penny? Records show that one of the top prices paid for a MS67 red example exceeded $1,000 at auction, which is a huge leap from just 1 cent. So what should you do if you have a 1955 D penny? First, don't clean it. Cleaning a coin can dramatically reduce its value. Instead, store it safely in a coin flip or holder and get it checked by an expert. If you find one in exceptional condition or with a rare variety, you could be holding onto a piece of history that's worth serious money. So keep an eye out. Check your change. Go through that old coin jar in the drawer. You never know. We are diving deep into one of the most iconic coins in American numismatics. We are talking about the 1958 D wheat penny. This is a coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but when you understand its story, its history, and its hidden value, you might start checking your change jar a lot more carefully. You could be holding a small fortune without even knowing it. Now, first things first. The 1958 D wheat penny is part of the Lincoln cent series that began in 1909. This coin features the bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side. Lincoln was the first real person ever used on a regular issue United States coin. Before that, Liberty or symbolic figures were always used. The choice of Lincoln was in celebration of his 100th birthday. The design was created by Victor David Brenner and was such a success that it became the standard for the penny. Over 100 years later, Lincoln is still on the cent today. The wheat reverse design, which gives this coin its nickname wheat penny, ran from 1909 to 1958. That makes the 1958 D wheat penny the very last of its kind. The following year, in 1959, the wheat ears were replaced by the Lincoln Memorial, marking a major shift in American coin design. Now let's focus on the details of this 1958 D wheat penny. The D mint mark tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint. Over 800 million of these coins were produced that year. That is a massive mintage, which usually means the coin is common and not worth much. But here's the twist. While most 1958 D pennies are worth only a few cents in circulated condition, there are special cases and key features that can push the value into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars. One major factor in the value of any coin is condition. In the world of coin grading, the term mint state is used for coins that have never been in circulation and still retain their original luster. A 1958 penny in mint state condition can sell for $5 to $10 depending on the grade. But if you have one graded MS67 or higher by a top grading service like PCGS or NGC, the value jumps significantly. In auctions, coins in this pristine condition have sold for over $1,000. Even more fascinating is the existence of error coins and varieties. One of the most famous varieties for this year is the 1958 double die obverse. While the double die variety for the 1958 Philadelphia penny is extremely rare with only a few known examples, some collectors and dealers confuse the Denver Mint coins with these rare pieces. It is important to know that as of now there is no confirmed double die obverse for the 1958D, but that does not mean you should not be checking. New discoveries happen all the time, and with so many coins still unsearched, there is always a chance. What about proof-like coins or those with unusual toning? Some collectors are paying top dollar for coins with beautiful rainbow tones or coins that show exceptional strikes. These coins are rare not because of errors but because they were well preserved or struck from fresh dies. Coins like that can command premiums far beyond the average market value. Now let us talk about what your 1958 wheat penny might be worth in today's market. As of June 2025, circulated examples in average condition still hover around 1 to 5 cents. If your coin is uncirculated, you might fetch between $1 and $10. In high mint state grades like MS65 to MS67 red, values can range from $20 to several hundred. Coins graded MS67 red by PCGS have sold at auction for between $600 and $1,000. The top auction record for a 1958 wheat penny stands at over $1,200. Of course, these values depend on market demand, coin supply, and collector interest. With Lincoln cents being one of the most collected coin series in the United States, demand is always strong, especially for high-quality examples. Beginners and seasoned collectors alike are constantly on the lookout for the best versions of every date and mint mark. So how do you know if you have a valuable 1958 wheat penny? Start by examining the coin under good lighting. Check the color. A red coin with original luster is worth more than a brown or dull example. Use a magnifying glass to look for any signs of doubling or unusual features. Weigh the coin. A genuine copper 1958 penny should weigh 3.11 grams. If it is lighter or heavier, you might be looking at a planchet error. If you believe your coin is special, it might be time to send it to a professional grading service. PCGS and NGC are the top names in third-party grading. A coin graded and encapsulated by one of these services gives collectors confidence and can greatly increase the sale price if you choose to sell. You might be wondering where to sell a valuable 1958 penny. There are many options. Local coin shops, online auction sites like eBay, and coin shows are great places to start. But if you have a high-grade example or a possible variety, it might be worth contacting a numismatic auction house like Heritage Auctions or Stax Bowers. These companies specialize in rare coins and can get you top dollar. Before we wrap up, let us revisit why the 1958 wheat penny is so interesting. It is the final year of the classic wheat reverse design. It was produced in massive numbers, but high-quality examples are rare and highly sought after. While most are worth just face value or a few cents, exceptional coins can bring in hundreds or even thousands. Add to that the possibility of new era varieties being discovered, and you have a coin that keeps collectors excited even decades after it was minted. So the next time you are looking through your pocket change or searching through an old coin jar, keep your eyes peeled for that humble little penny dated 1958 with a small d under the date. It might just be more valuable than you think. Thanks for joining me on this journey into numismatic history. If you found this video helpful or interesting, please like and subscribe for more coin collecting insights and updates on rare coins that could be hiding in plain sight. Until next time, happy collecting.